Professor Wergeles here. Let's come back to the code. Make sure you have saved all your changes. We're going to look at number 7, JavaScript objects and JSON. Let's take a look at this example. I actually have the JavaScript object already implemented. You'll see I have a variable here called trainer, and that's equal to this block of code. Now, this block of code is called an object. You'll see it's almost like a structure in C, where I have key value pairs. So I have name equal to Ash, badges equal to 10, Pokemon, which is an array of Pikachu, Squirtle, and Jigglypuff. Now, it's important to note in an object, they're separated by commas except on the last one. The last one does not contain a comma. And if you put a comma there, you're going to get a compile error. Now, I've taken the time to go ahead and print the trainer object out. So you see I have a trainer, name is a string, badges is an int, Pokemon is an array of strings. So let's print out trainer and see what we have. If I right click on the page and do an inspect, go to the console, you're going to see this object here. So if I open the object up, you'll see exactly what I was talking about. I have badges 10, name Ash, Pokemon, which is an array of 3 strings. So it's an array of strings with size 3. So what's cool about this object is I can actually start accessing the data directly. Let's say I want to access the trainer's name. I can do a console log, and I can say hi, space, and concatenate that with trainer.name. What I like about the objects is as soon as I do the dot notation, I can access either badges, which is a number, name, which is a string, or Pokemon, which is an array of strings. So if I click on the name, it'll say hi Ash. If I refresh the page, you'll see hi Ash in the console. And I can do other things too. I can access, let's say, the name and badges. So I can do a console log. I can say trainer.name, concatenate that with has, and then concatenate that with trainer.badges, and concatenate that with the keyword badges. Put a semicolon, save the code, refresh the browser. You'll see Ash has 10 badges. So it's cool with a object is I can use the dot notation. I can start accessing those variables. Now that is when it's a JavaScript object. So if I do trainer dot, you'll see all the available key value pairs that I can access. I can even use a for loop. Okay, so I can have a for loop. I can say var I in trainer dot Pokemon. Okay, and then I can have a block of code for the for loop, and I can say console.log and say trainer name has a, make sure you do the concatenation, concatenated with trainer.pokemon at index I. Save the code, refresh. You'll see Ash has a Pikachu, Ash has a Squirtle, Ash has a Jigglypuff. Now, even though I've written the object in this order, it doesn't necessarily mean the object will be in this order after the page is rendered. But that doesn't matter because as soon as I access the key, the value will be returned. If name is the last key, it doesn't matter because it's going to search for name. And that's why JavaScript objects and JSON are so powerful. The order of the key value pairs does not matter. Once you specify the key, the value will come back, and thus the order is irrelevant. Now, JSON and JavaScript objects are used everywhere. If you've looked at hash maps or other types of data structures, you're going to see these key value pairs in a lot of places, and that's where JSON was born. Now, right now, it is a JavaScript object, so I can use the dot notation. If I turn it into JSON, I'm going to turn it into a string, and then it's no longer a JavaScript object. So let's make a JSON string. So I'm going to call this trainer JSON. I'm going to set that equal to JSON.stringify my trainer object. And let's print this out. So if I do a console.dir, before we saw it was an object. Now let's see what I get. So I saved the code, come over here, refresh the page, and you'll see this is what I get. I get the bracket followed by key value pairs. The keys are always in quotes, separated by a colon, and then I have my value. depending on what the value is, will be based off of how it's represented. So here, ash is a string. You'll see it's in quotes, but badges is an integer, so it's not in quotes. Pokemon is an array, so you'll see the array annotation, followed by the values of the array in quotes because it's string array. And then to end the JSON notation, you'll have your close bracket here. So this is JSON. Trainer is a JavaScript object. This string is JSON. There's a big difference there. After I have my string, like trainer JSON, if I try to do the dot notation and reach name, it's not going to work because it's a string now and it's used for transporting the data. Let's say I try to log trainer.name, refresh the page, you'll see trainer.name is undefined because it's no longer a JavaScript object. It's now a string, and it's now designed to transfer to a server or transfer from a server back to the browser. So I have a JavaScript object, I manipulate it. When I need to transport the data, I turn it into JSON and transport it. Now I'm on the server. Server gets JSON. It's going to translate it back into an object. It's going to manipulate the data, add data, change the data, read the data. I need to send it back to the front end, so it's going to transform it into JSON and send it back to the front end. So I have objects. When I'm sending it, it's JSON. Server gets it, turns it back to an object, needs to send it back to the front end, turn it to JSON, send it back. So JSON is when I'm transporting the data. If I want to take that string and put it back to a JavaScript object, I can call the JSON.parse method. And I'm going to put that on trainer JSON. After I have the object, now I can do the dot notation and then reference the name. So let's print this out. Save the code, refresh the page, and now you'll see undefined, and then the last print will be ash. So when it's in JSON, I don't have the power to read the data because it's designed to transport the data. After I get the data back, I can parse it back into an object, and then I can use the dot notation again. After I have the object back from the server, then I can do something like document.getElementById, and let's say I grab the output and I change the inner HTML to trainer object dot name. But remember, JavaScript's loaded sequentially, and now I'm trying to grab the ID output before it's been created. So I actually need to put this line of code at the bottom of the body. So here I'll put another script tag, change the output to the trainer's name. So I refresh the page, and now you'll see ash is changed on the page. But if I try to use the JSON, this is what the JSON will look like. Refresh the page, and now you'll see my JSON. Remember, JSON starts with a block. I call that a mustache. It starts with a mustache, has my first key. Keys are always in quotes, separated by a semicolon. Then I have my value. This value is a string, so it's also in quotes, separated by a comma. Then I have my next key value pair. Keys are always in quotes. Then I have my value, which is an integer 10, so it's not in quotes, followed by a comma with my next key value pair. The key is always in quotes, so I have Pokemon, which is an array of strings with a size of 3, and then I end the JSON with a mustache. Okay, so if I ask you to write JSON, you're going to want to know this syntax. Always starts with a bracket or a mustache. Keys are always in quotes, separated by a colon. Then I have my value. The value is a string, it's in quotes. Otherwise, it's not in quotes. Then followed by the end mustache. That's it for this lecture. We've learned a lot in this lecture. We've looked at JavaScript and then translated it into jQuery. We saw how much shorter jQuery was. Then we looked at JavaScript objects and JSON. In the next lecture, we're going to look at version control and Git, and then finally make a complete application. So far, we've kind of been doing a little bit of HTML. We then went into CSS and then animations, and we went to JavaScript and then jQuery. And in the next lecture, we're actually going to build a complete application and use all of these skills to make something. Because the midterm's coming up, and I want to make sure you're prepared and know how to use all these tools in order to make a real-world application. The next lectures are some of my favorite lectures, so stick with Professor Wergeles, and we'll see you next time.